Now, broadcasting from behind enemy lines, deep in the trenches of the Patriot resistance, leading the charge in the battle for liberty. This is the Jayson Veley Program.
Hello, my friends. Jayson Veley here. This is the Jayson Veley Program. I want to thank you very much for tuning in here tonight. The email address, thejaysonveleyprogram@gmail.com, thejaysonveleyprogram@gmail.com. We also have a number if you want to call in and leave a voicemail message. That number is 860-266-2852, 860-266-2852. Call, leave a message. I'd love to hear from you. I think it's going to be a great way utilizing that call-in system to interact with you guys more. You know, I was thinking earlier today when I was doing show prep, because I knew that I wanted to talk a little bit about COVID-19 and how different states are responding to it now. Can you believe it's been can you believe that it's been about a year? Can you believe that it's been about a year since the lockdowns started? I mean, it seems like just yesterday it was, everything was kicking into full gear, and state after state after state was starting to shut down. I remember, the company that I work for, transitioning from going into the office every day to working remote every day. It's crazy to me that it's already been a year since all that happened. And in that year, folks, we've made a lot of progress, thanks in large part to President Trump and his leadership, and the team that he put together to tackle this issue and to come up with a vaccine in an incredible amount of time, with Operation Warp Speed and all the rest. We've made a lot of progress. But the truth is, ladies and gentlemen, that a year later, there's still a lot of people in this country struggling. There's still a lot of people struggling. It's better than it was. We understand the coronavirus more now, obviously, and we're responding appropriately to that new knowledge. But in many ways, a lot of people are struggling, folks. A lot of people are still struggling. Small business is hurting. People are experiencing depression. When I was doing research for the show, I found a study from September that indicated that depression symptoms are now 3 times higher since the COVID lockdowns began. Depression has gone up by about 300%. I mean, that's incredible to me. There are some severe physical, emotional, psychological effects that these lockdowns are having on people. And of course, again, that's on top of the financial impact that this is all having on many businesses across the country, particularly small businesses, ma and pa shops, and so on and so forth. It's having a real effect. So again, even though we've made a lot of progress in this past year, the fact that we still have a lot of states out there who won't allow people to start opening back up, businesses to start opening back up, won't allow their people to go back to, get back to their daily lives. It's having a real toll on a lot of people out there. It really has. So, folks, Governor Greg Abbott, let me get into what I wanted to really talk about tonight. As you may or may not have heard, the Texas governor has come out and said that he's rescinding the statewide mask mandates and capacity limits on businesses. I applaud him for this. I really do. Let me read a little bit about this, rather. This is reading now from, where the hell was the article? The Texas Tribune. Governor Greg Abbott says he's rescinding statewide mask mandate and capacity limits on businesses. Now, this is a big step, by the way. This is a big step in returning to some sense of normalcy. You know, I understand now that we have the vaccines going out, and that's all well and good, but really, you know, states are still locked down. Businesses are still locked down. So this is what I believe to be a significant accomplishment from the governor of Texas. The governor announced on Tuesday that he will end Texas's statewide mask mandate next week and allow all businesses to operate at full capacity. He said, quote, "It is now time to open Texas 100%. Adding that people and businesses don't need the state telling them how to operate any longer. Amen to that. See, the reason, too, folks, why I love what the Texas governor is doing right now is because it's coming from, it's liberty oriented. It's liberty oriented. It embraces individual accountability, individual responsibility. I'll get more into that in just a little bit here. But I think it's great. I really do. I'm sure many of you listening might not agree with me. But I think what the Texas governor, or maybe you do, I hope that you agree with me. But again, I think that what the Texas governor is doing is phenomenal. Abbott said that he's rescinding most of the earlier executive orders he has issued over the past year to stem the spread of the virus. He said starting on March 10th, all businesses of any type are allowed to open 100%. A spokesperson later confirmed that includes sporting events, concerts, and similar events. In other words, liking it back to normal in Texas. Masks will no longer be required in public for the first time since last summer. I applaud him. I really do. This guy has some balls. if I could put it that way. He does. And now what we're seeing is there's apparently several states that are going to be following in Texas's footsteps, namely Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, and a few others are also expected to, like I said, follow in Texas's footsteps and really start opening back up. The governments in these states are finally ready to take a step back and restore some freedom, restore, again, some sense of normalcy like we had before the pandemic. And these governors really, folks, and I was having this conversation with my younger brother a few days ago, because we were talking about this, about Texas opening back up, and we were saying that, look, the governor and the governors of Alabama, Mississippi, these other states that are going to start opening up, they're only doing what's best for their people. We have to trust the fact that they've looked at the situation and they think, based on their own individual circumstances, based on the wants and needs of their own people, we have to trust that this is the best decision. So, folks, of course, in response to this, there's a lot of liberals that aren't too happy about it. Joe Biden, that moron, came out shortly after Governor Abbott announced that they'd be opening back up and said that this is Neanderthal thinking. Neanderthal thinking coming from Joe Biden. Well, folks, if Joe Biden isn't a prime example of Neanderthal thinking, I don't know what is. Neanderthal thinking, I guess that means like dumb thinking, dated thinking, perhaps. I mean, that's liberalism in a nutshell. That's progressivism in a nutshell. The ideas and policy prescriptions that Joe Biden is trying to advance, that the liberals are trying to advance, that's Neanderthal thinking. That is dated thinking. This is what Governor Abbott's doing, is forward thinking, trying to get the ball rolling here. There's nothing dumb about it. There's nothing stupid about it. It's a great move. So that's Joe Biden. But you know what? Who the hell really cares what he has to say about it? Who cares? Just like who cares what the governor of California had to say about this? Gavin Newsom. That whack job. Boy, California, you really put forward some nuts, don't you? You really send some wackos to Washington, D.C. Even though I guess governors don't go to Washington, D.C., but you know what I mean. You send forward some crazy senators and House members as well. But Governor Newsom took to Twitter to call the move, quote, absolutely reckless. Absolutely reckless. I guess we're not going to pay any attention to the policies that they put forth over in California. No. Those aren't reckless at all, you see. Those aren't reckless at all. Big government, massive programs, massive redistribution of wealth. That's not reckless. Massive spending. No, that's not reckless. But Governor Newsom comes out and he has the audacity to say, yeah, opening back up, giving your people the ability to actually get back to their normal lives. That's reckless. Can't stand these people, folks. I really can't. These weasels out there. And speaking of weasels, Beto O'Rourke. Let's get to him. He had a conversation on MSNBC where he accused Governor Abbott of sacrificing lives for political gain. Sacrificing lives for political gain. He also said that Abbott and other Republicans and conservatives who support opening back up now as, part of a death cult, quote unquote. He used those words, part of a death cult. Guy is a nut. He really does. He has a few screws loose. I want to play this audio for you. This little back and forth between, I don't even know who was interviewing Abbott on MSNBC. Interviewing O'Rourke on MSNBC. Oh, here we go. Nicole Wallace. Never heard of her, but she's an idiot too. You'll hear in the interview that I'm about to play. She is full of hatred for conservatives, for Governor Abbott. The two of them just go back and forth, trashing Republicans, trashing this move, this plan set forth in Texas. It's disgusting. Take a listen.
To what do you chalk up the cruelty of the Republican posture at this moment?
Hear how she asked that question? What do you chalk up the cruelty of the Republican posture? Yeah, this is journalism, ladies and gentlemen. This is the news. MSNBC is a credible, non-biased news source, right? Yeah. Keep listening.
This hour of the pandemic.
I think it appeared to many of us to be a cult of personality, the Republican Party, in the era of Trump. And that probably still holds true. It's hard to escape the conclusion that it's also a cult of death. You have extraordinarily anti-democratic elements. I mean, look at the insurrection.
Can I ask a question, by the way? Cult of death. Abbott, Republicans, we're part of a cult of death because we actually believe in rolling back these lockdowns that are closing down businesses and making people's lives miserable. We're part of a cult of death. Can I ask a question? Are Democrats part of a cult of death by any chance because of their support for Planned Parenthood? Because of their support for murdering innocent little babies? I don't know how many tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions. Are they part of a death cult? You want to talk about this, Beto O'Rourke? You really want to go there? You nut? Watch what you have to say. Choose your words wisely, my friend. You don't want to go there. because you liberal Democrats support abortion. Abortion on demand. Abortion up until seconds before birth. You guys support this kind of senseless murder. Don't go there. Don't go there. I'll dish it right back. We can play this game too. Keep listening.
January 6th for any proof. You have anti-government elements literally running the government of the state of Texas. And it almost, I use the phrase failed state because I think when you can't guarantee the electricity, the heat, the running water, the public welfare and safety, you are about there by any classic definition. You have folks who are literally upending civilization as we know it and completely indifferent to the suffering it caused. 44,000.
We're not indifferent to it at all. Just because Governor Abbott supports rolling back lockdowns doesn't mean that he or any other Republican, for that matter, any other conservative, is indifferent to, people who have died as a result of COVID. Of course, that's a terrible, terrible thing. Terrible thing. I would ask Beto O'Rourke, is he indifferent to the spike in depression that these lockdowns cause? Is he indifferent to that? I don't hear him speaking out against that. I haven't heard him say a single damn thing about that. These physical, emotional, psychological problems, real problems that people are experiencing as a direct result of these government lockdowns. Do you have anything to say about that, Beto? No, you don't. Because you're an idiot. Keep listening.
Deaths alone, just in the state of Texas. In El Paso, my home county, where
saying
I am
we're
right
indifferent.
Now,
What
there
a
are
joke.
280 bodies stacked up in a warehouse because there are not enough grave diggers.
Now he's talking about bodies. See, this guy is getting worked up here. This guy is fear-mongering. And I can't stand this. I can't stand it ever, and I especially can't stand it as it relates to COVID-19. This constant fear-mongering. Where unless we all wear masks 24/7, where unless the government comes in and regulates businesses, how many people can be where people can go, and so on and so forth. Unless all that happens, then we're going to have bodies piling up. People are going to die in masses. Folks, the fact of the matter is, yes, we have a pandemic right now. We have a pandemic going through the country. There are terrible, terrible consequences of this pandemic. But we can't just stop living. We can't just freeze everything. We can't just shut the entire country down for the rest of our days. We've gone a year like this. There's only a certain amount amount of time. There's only a certain amount of time that this country can last like that. Financially speaking, and in terms of, again, the psychological effects it's having on people. There's going to come a breaking point. That's what we're trying to avoid. That's what people like the Texas governor is trying to avoid. Keep listening. A few more seconds of this crap.
Graves to be dug to put them in the ground. They had to call in the National Guard to move the bodies. They had to set up 10 mobile morgues. And that's just in my city right now. It is 85% Mexican American. They just don't care. And that indifference is killing people.
That's bullcrap. We don't care. We don't care. How dare this man go on MSNBC? I don't care that there's 3 or 4 people watching. The fact that he said this at all is a disgrace. We're part of a death cult. We don't care about people who died as a result of COVID-19. Screw you, you jackass. Screw you. What a piece of crap.
In my community and throughout the state of Texas.
We do obituaries every day at the end of this program, and we've done a whole lot of them from Texas. And it's this indifference to the death and the loss. Every one of them ruins an entire...
All right, that's enough. I can't listen to anymore. Republicans are indifferent. Republicans don't care about people dying. It's just so pathetic, folks. It's the fact that this is being said on a national news network. It's a disgrace. It really is. And this Beto O'Rourke, he's a real pain in the ass. Thank you, Governor Abbott, for taking the lead on this. Thank you. I know you're getting a lot of flack. I know you're being attacked by many people on the left. But seriously, thank you for taking the lead on this. I appreciate it. We appreciate it. We appreciate you. I'll be right back.
This is the Jayson Veley Program.
Conservatives, how many times have you been called a racist by someone on the left? What about sexist, bigoted, homophobic, xenophobic, right-wing radical extremist? These are all buzzwords that liberals use as a means of labeling conservatives as something that they're not. And let me tell you something, I, like most of you, am getting pretty damn sick of it. That's why I started my own conservative comedy series, Living with a Liberal. Hosted on the popular video sharing app TikTok, Living with a Liberal features two fictional characters, played by yours truly, whose political differences could not be more obvious. It's a comedic take on the modern-day liberal Democrat, because if they can brand us as racists and bigots, we can brand them as triggered, oversensitive snowflakes. Check out Living with a Liberal today on TikTok. Just search Jayson Veley and you'll be taken right to my homepage. I have over 100 episodes on there, so you won't be short on content anytime soon. Enjoy. Are you a pissed off liberal that wants to give me a piece of your mind? Or maybe you're a conservative that simply has a question or comment? Either way, you should know that there's a few different ways you can reach me. Feel free to send me an email at thejaysonveleyprogram@gmail.com. Or if you prefer, you can also call the show number and leave me a voicemail. 860-266-2852. Be sure to provide your name and where you're writing or calling from. Thanks a lot. I look forward to hearing from you. All right, folks, welcome back to the show. Jayson Veley here. You know, that commercial break wasn't long enough, quite frankly, to give me a chance to breathe. Breathe in, breathe out, calm down. Yes, you'll find that from time to time things piss me off, folks. Things piss me off, to be quite frank about it. And just like I was before when I used to do radio down in Jasper, Florida, and before that when I was doing conservative commentary in high school and so on and so forth, I'm a passionate individual. I don't believe in sugarcoating things, and when things piss me off, yeah, I get loud. Yeah, I raise my voice. I could do the whole NPR bit where I sit here behind the microphone and speak monotone about the things that are going on in the country. But you know what, folks? Screw that. There's a lot of things going on in this country right now that piss me off, that fire me up. When I hear these Democrats like Beto O'Rourke and Joe Biden ruining my country, slandering us conservatives, lying about us, you're damn straight I'm going to raise my voice. You're damn straight. Now let me make this point. Just because Governor Abbott lifted restrictions doesn't mean that people can't wear masks. It doesn't mean that people can't take precautions and so on and so forth. It just means that they don't have to. It's not mandated by their government anymore. So, I raise that point because people like Beto O'Rourke and Governor Newsom and Joe Biden and all the rest, they're attacking Governor Abbott as if he's saying that people aren't allowed to wear masks anymore. As if he's saying people are now forced to go out and, go to local bars or gather in large groups. He's not saying that at all. He's merely given people the opportunity to do so. And this is, circling back to what I said at the very beginning of the show. This is a decision that Governor Abbott made based on liberty and individualism. Liberty and individualism. That is to say that in Texas, if people want to, A, go out, gather in large groups, not wear a mask, what have you, then they can do so. They know the risks, but they have that right. They have the ability to do that. Or B, if people would feel safer staying at home, not gathering in large groups, wearing masks whenever they can, whenever they need to, they can do that as well. It's about giving people the choice. Because quite frankly, folks, I know liberals tend to think that the government knows what's best for every single person at every time, but that's not the case. People are different. People are in different situations, different living situations. People, might be healthy, they might be unhealthy. They might need to wear a mask and be a little bit more scared of COVID-19, or they might not give a damn. People are different. And Governor Abbott respects that and respects his own people enough to make their own decisions. I mean, good God, don't you think it's time that we start restoring some sense of individual responsibility here? Individual responsibility, some kind of individual accountability? If you feel comfortable going out and gathering in large groups and not wearing a mask, go for it. Just know the risk. Know that you could very well contract COVID. If you don't feel comfortable, don't go around people. I mean, we don't need the government holding our hand, ladies and gentlemen. That's the point. We're a free people. We should be able to make our own damn decisions when it comes to things like this. So, Governor Abbott reopening Texas. The Democrats have made it into some kind of crisis. Right? They've made it into some kind of crisis. Oh my God, I can't believe he's doing that. Governor Newsom, Joe Biden, Neanderthal thinking. Beto O'Rourke saying that's they're part of a death cult. Oh, this is a crisis in Texas. Oh my God, I can't believe he's doing that. You want me to tell you what the real crisis is right now in Texas? It has to do with the illegal immigrants being released into the state even after testing positive for COVID. Did you hear about this one? What happened, ladies and gentlemen, is for whatever reason, and I can't for the life of me understand why this dingbat of a president would do this, but Joe Biden, through executive order, brought back catch and release. Brought back catch and release, where if you're an immigrant caught at the border, instead of going to a detention center until you can be processed, you're released into American communities until you can be processed. I mean, that doesn't make any sense to me whatsoever. Why you would do that is beyond me. So we have catch and release again, no thanks to Joe Biden. But in addition to that, I read a report, I think it was like a little over 100 immigrants so far have been stopped at the border and then released into the community who have tested positive for COVID-19. So in effect, the Biden administration is spreading COVID-19 in Texas through these immigrants who are coming across the border. That is a potential crisis. That is a potential crisis. And Governor Abbott called out the Biden administration on Twitter. I had the tweet up, but I lost it, folks, so unfortunately I can't read it. But he called out the Biden administration and said, we need to end catch and release right now. People are coming into our Texas communities even though they've tested positive for COVID-19. They're not required to quarantine, nothing. They're being stopped, they're being tested, they test positive, and then they're off into the communities. This is reckless. To quote Governor Newsom. This is reckless. But do Governor Newsom or Beto O'Rourke have anything to say about this? Do they give a damn about this? No, they don't. They don't. In addition to this, you know, it's going to get worse, by the way, folks. Because in addition to this, we have thousands of migrants arriving at the southern border. They're coming up. I read a few articles in show prep. Articles that had pictures of these migrants, and they're all wearing shirts that say something like, please let us in, Biden, or something like that. All of them. All of them. You can't help but wonder if they're being organized. I mean, in all likelihood they are, right? If they all have the same shirts. It's a political message more than anything else. And so they're arriving at the southern border. Joe Biden, for whatever reason, is refusing to admit that there is a crisis at the southern border. But you know what? If it's not a crisis now, it sure as hell will be soon, won't it? And so we have to ask ourselves, these people coming to the southern border, looking to get into the United States, how many of them will test positive for COVID and then be released into communities in Texas or Arizona or what have you? How many of them will spread COVID? Folks, I just bring this up because, again, you have people on the left saying that Republicans don't care about the spread of COVID, and yet they're, in many ways, facilitating the spread of COVID through these ridiculous immigration non-laws, procedures, what have you, processes. How many of these people at the border will test positive for COVID and be released into our communities? Democrats, I think you owe us an answer. Does Biden have a plan for this? Does he? I don't know. Something tells me no. Something tells me no. And folks, that's why they're coming here. That's why they're approaching the southern border. Many of them are already at the southern border trying to get into the United States. Many of them are getting into the United States. They're doing it because Joe Biden is president. They're doing it because they know he really doesn't have a plan. They're doing it because they know that Biden, the Democrat, is pretty damn weak on immigration laws, unlike President Trump was. and they're taking advantage of it. I remember same damn thing happened under Barack Obama. I remember talking about it on the radio, just like I am right now. Same thing. Obama, when he was in office, migrants, massive caravans of people coming up to the southern border. Folks, it's not a coincidence that this sort of thing happens when Democrats are president, when there's a Democrat in the White House, because they're laxed immigration laws. Their bleeding heart liberal politics are being absolutely taken advantage of by people who are looking to get into the country illegally. They know that Democrats aren't America first. That's the sad truth. They know that Democrats, more times than not, put Americans last. And they're taking advantage of it. And honestly, folks, the Democrats should be ashamed of themselves for this. Ashamed. So we'll see what happens. We'll see how this whole situation pans out. We'll see if Joe Biden ever grows a pair and ends up calling this what it is, a crisis. We'll see what happens, folks. We'll see what happens. All right, I'm going to take another quick break. Don't go anywhere. Back in just a minute. When I come back, actually, let me tease this really quick. I received an email from someone named Arthur. And Arthur asked me a very, very interesting question, a question that I've actually gotten quite a few times. And because of that, I feel like I should address it. And so I'm going to be sharing a story with you about my past, and it's going to be a great discussion. So stick around for that. You're not going to want to miss it. I'll be right back. Conservatives. How many times have you been called a racist by someone on the left? What about sexist, bigoted, homophobic, xenophobic, right-wing radical extremist? These are all buzzwords that liberals use as a means of labeling conservatives as something that they're not. And let me tell you something, I, like most of you, am getting pretty damn sick of it. That's why I started my own conservative comedy series, Living with a Liberal. Hosted on the popular video sharing app TikTok, Living with a Liberal features two fictional characters, played by yours truly, whose political differences could not be more obvious. It's a comedic take on the modern-day liberal Democrat, because if they can brand us as racists and bigots, we can brand them as triggered, oversensitive snowflakes. Check out Living with a Liberal today on TikTok. Just search Jayson Veley and you'll be taken right to my homepage. I have over 100 episodes on there, so you won't be short on content anytime soon. Enjoy. Are you a pissed off liberal that wants to give me a piece of your mind? Or maybe you're a conservative that simply has a question or comment? Either way, you should know that there's a few different ways you can reach me. Feel free to send me an email at thejaysonveleyprogram at gmail.com. Or if you prefer, you can also call the show number and leave me a voicemail. 860-266-2852. Be sure to provide your name and where you're writing or calling from. Thanks a lot. I look forward to hearing from you. Welcome back to the show, folks. The other day I got an email from someone named Arthur. And I want to read what he wrote. Hey man, I'm a big fan, and you really helped me find what I stand for and what I believe in. My name is Arthur, and I'm in 8th grade from Taunton, Massachusetts. In my home and school, I get persecuted for my beliefs. What do I do? Well, thank you so much for writing, Arthur. I really do appreciate it, and I would encourage the rest of you listening to this, if you have similar questions or comments, I'd love to hear from you. The JaysonVeleyprogram at gmail.com. But I decided to take a few minutes here to wrap up the show and answer this question, because this is a question that I've gotten, seriously, at least a dozen times. People asking, I'm a conservative, and at school or at home, where at work, I get attacked for my political beliefs. What do I do? How do I deal with this? And I have a story that is relevant and might resonate with the broader audience here. When I was in high school, actually, this is going back to, was I in? Yeah, this was high school. I believe it was high school. I had these two friends. This is before I got into politics. Before I started doing, my local access show and conservative commentary. I had these two friends named, I'll say their first names, Adam and Drew. Adam and Drew. And by the way, Drew is the Drew that I'm talking about now is the inspiration for Drew the character in Living with a Liberal. For those of you who weren't aware, little fun fact for you there. But Adam and Drew, they were, okay guys at first. In fact, I remember the three of us had a band together. So we spent a good amount of time together, and doing band practice and so on and so forth. And none of us were into politics, so it was just something that never came up. But eventually I did get into politics. A lot. And I started developing my conservative beliefs. Big part of that was from my father. My father is a big conservative, and it just kind of came through, having conversations with him. I remember, in high school, watching my dad watch Fox News every night and just kind of reacting to what different hosts were saying. And I was just immediately interested in my father's passion and just politics in general. The basic values and principles of conservatism really resonated with me. And so I became a conservative. And not only did I become a conservative, but I also started doing a local access television show about conservatism. Me and my good friend Connor co-hosted it together. He was another conservative, and it was just it was very local access. It was very low budget, but we had a blast doing it. It wasn't professional by any means, but we'd go to the local community center and produce a live local access conservative talk show. This is me in high school. And we did this for some time, and almost immediately, these two friends that I had, Adam and Drew, became anything but friends. And what happened is they started teasing me, and even more than that, they were bullies. They absolutely were bullying me for my political beliefs because I was an outspoken conservative. And beyond that, what they would do is they would try to get other people on board with picking on me. So it wasn't just them. They seemed to like telling all of my other classmates, hey, Veley's a conservative. Isn't that ridiculous? And they like to get people to chime in on the ridicule. And so this was kind of new to me because I had up until this point never really been picked on or bullied by any classmates. Thank God. But it started in high school. And a few different people actually who I had considered friends for quite some time grew distant from me. And it was pretty tough. I mean, I'm not going to sit here and say, oh, woe is me, but I'm just trying to explain to you that I've gone through this sort of thing. I remember there was this other kid in one of my classes. He was one of the individuals that Adam and Drew got on board in the on the make fun of Jayson Veley train. And this kid's name was Kevin. And I'll never forget this. Kevin was a good guy. He really was, and he would lightheartedly make fun of my conservative views, but it was nothing to the extent of Adam and Drew and the rest. But I'll never forget this. One day after class, Kevin, he pulled me aside, and he was extremely serious, and he said, Jayson, listen. You have to stop doing this whole conservative commentary spiel. You have to stop. And he was dead serious. And he said, people are mocking you more than you know. They're laughing at you. And he basically informed me that this was actually more rampant than I thought. Again, because of Adam and Drew, who like telling everybody about this and getting them on board with mocking me, ridiculing me. And so Kevin, he was trying to be a good friend. And he was dead serious and said, Jayson, you need to stop doing this because people are mocking you. And he really meant it. I think he was genuinely concerned that I was being picked on. And I basically said to him, look, Kevin, I appreciate your concern. However, I'm going to keep doing this. And I kept doing it. And within, I believe within a month or two, we got contacted by a producer at the Glenn Beck program, back when Glenn Beck was on Fox News. And I've told this story before on my TikTok, but long story short, me and Connor ended up getting the opportunity to appear on Glenn Beck's Fox News show as high schoolers, as young kids. I think we were 15 and 16 years old at the time, to talk about our small local access conservative talk show. It was an incredible experience. I'll never forget it. It was amazing. I felt on top of the world. And after that, we went back to school, and word spread that Connor and Jayson appeared on Fox News. A lot of students, saw the segment that we were on, and I'll never forget this either. Kevin came up to me after seeing us on Glenn Beck and said, Jayson, I've thought about this. I don't think you guys should stop doing your show. I think you should keep doing this, continue pursuing it. And I will never forget that. And that's exactly what we did. We kept doing the show, and people like Adam and Drew still picked on us, but it wasn't having nearly as big of an impact anymore, because I felt that I had proven them wrong. I had reached some level of success. And it was the great Rush Limbaugh who once said that the best form of revenge is success. So after appearing on the Glenn Beck program, yeah, Adam and Drew still picked on me, but in my mind, I was on cloud nine. I was so far above them that their attacks on me didn't even bother me. It really didn't faze me anymore. They were like, it just didn't affect me. So, Arthur, circling back to your question, here's my advice to you. My advice to you is twofold. Number one, if you're being ridiculed by people for your political beliefs, you need to do everything in your power to separate yourself from those people. Adam and Drew were my friends at one point, but I separated myself from them because I knew it was best for my own well-being. I separated from a lot of people, as a matter of fact, because, again, I knew it was best. Now, I understand that you said that some people in your family come after you, too, for your own political beliefs, and obviously you can't really, you're in 8th grade, you can't really separate yourself from your family. I wouldn't advise that anyway, because family is family, but what I will say is I think that you should go out of your way to avoid talking politics with them at all costs. Don't bring it up, and if they bring up politics, if they start attacking your beliefs, say to them, look, mom, dad, brother, sister, I have my beliefs, you have your beliefs, let's leave it at that, let's be a family, let's not talk about this anymore. And if you keep saying that over and over and over again, eventually they're going to stop persecuting you, to use your word. They're going to stop. It's going to come to an end. Now, for people at your school who are picking on you, who are bullying you, it's obviously much easier to go your separate ways. Just don't talk to them anymore. Don't hang out with them anymore. They're not worth your time. They're not worth your time. Because you're above them. They are below you. So that's my first piece of advice. My second piece of advice, and perhaps the most important, is no matter what happens, no matter how hard it gets, stand strong. Stand strong in your beliefs. Do not waver. It's going to get tough. It probably already, it sounds like it already is. It was tough for me. But no matter what happens, don't you dare surrender your beliefs. Surrender what you believe in your heart of hearts. Because the second you do that, they've won. You give them the power. But if you continue on day after day, after, being attacked, criticized for your beliefs, if you continue onward, still staying strong, still remaining committed to conservatism, you've won. Because you've shown them that they can't knock you down. Mark my words, that's what they're trying to do. Don't let them do it. Do not give them that power. So that's my advice to you, and that's my advice to anyone else who might be in a similar situation where you're being attacked or harassed for your conservative beliefs. Trust me, I know how hard it is. It's difficult. But you will prevail. You will get through it. I did. If I can do it, you sure as hell can too. If any of you guys listening, again, have any questions that you want me to answer, I'd be happy to help. Any comments, anything like that. Send me an email, thejaysonveleyprogram@gmail.com, thejaysonveleyprogram@gmail.com. No one's used our voicemail yet, by the way, so I'd love to get a message from somebody. That number is, God, I don't have it memorized yet, 860-266-2852, 860-266-2852. Give me a call. All right, folks, with that, we're going to wrap up. That is the first week of podcasting come to a close. I want to thank you all very, very much for listening this week, and I'll be back next week, Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday, kicking ass as usual. Have a great weekend, folks. God bless, and God save this great nation.